Hello everybody and welcome to episode 58 of Competitive Magic with the Karnies. I'm your host from Italy, Andrea Mengucci, and joining me we have Javier Dominguez from Spain.
Hello everyone.
And Anthony Lee from Australia.
Hola.
I have noticed the love for the past episode that was very clickbaity, the what is had to be done with scam, and people loved it. So, if it's the second time you listened to our podcast coming from that one, I have to say that was just a one time I'd say that we were so much clickbaity. Or Anthony, we'll make sure that, those things happens once every 57 episode. Is that right?
Good.
Yeah, okay. Today is going to be a much more relaxed episode. We are warming up a little bit before the Eternal weekend. And I don't know if you guys had done anything cool or are looking forward to anything cool, but have you guys played any pre-release the past weekend?
Yeah, I played one. It was fun. I quite enjoyed this set. It was there's a lot going on. So that's a little tough, but once you get through that, there's a lot of good gameplay, well, first impressions so far, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did not play them.
You have your...
No, I did not play for release. I stayed home playing Constructed. I actually played the Legacy Challenge, Citizen Screen, where I went 5-2 with my own take on the wiki control deck, basically putting some beanstalks. And it's strange because I went 5-2, which is actually okay, but I didn't feel the deck was great, so I'm actually not sure if I should play it or not. I'm open for feedback. Like, do you think this deck is good, Mango?
Yeah, for sure. This is a great deck. The only thing that scares me is that the Eternal Weekend is capped at 750 people, all in one day. That is mandatory 10 rounds of Swiss, where if you get 2 draws, you need like 8, I don't know. That scares me so much. I would honestly never consider a deck like this, but I think it's very well positioned, especially since in paper people are more likely to play Delver Days deck, even if I don't think they're particularly good in the metagame at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not concerned about drawing, but I'm concerned about being tired after so many rounds, if that's a concern too.
That is for sure something, but I mean, I guess now you have Fourth Lingus and the One Ring, which close the game very quickly once you snowball. Like, you don't have to just be there with 7 cards against none waiting, because you just close the game much faster than before, right?
Yeah, no, definitely you do. Also, I didn't play pre-release because there's a Eternal Weekend, but there's also the Arena Qualifier, which is historic, and there's Showcase Most Challenge in the same weekend, so I'm in a position where I had to think for potentially 5 formats of different decks, and I also have the Modern Super League. Today, actually, I'm playing tonight, so I was like, okay, I have so much to test for. I don't want to play too much, so I was like, okay, let's keep it constructed for this week, these days. So I did not go to pre-release. What about you, Mango?
Yeah, I think this is the first pre-release I skip in so long. It was my girlfriend's birthday on Friday, so we did some cool things on Friday and Saturday. And then on Sunday, I went to an RCQ, which, in Europe, even if you're qualified to the RC, you can still go to the RCQ. And I managed to split the final, as in I reached the final and then conceded to the other player so that he would go to the RC. And I got my nice and sweet Death Shadow promo, which now I have 3 foil Death Shadow and 3 regular Death Shadow. So I definitely became an RCQ grinder. And yeah, I decided to play my own take on Mono Black. This is something that I have been very vocal about, like the changes on Mono Black. People seem to, it's crazy. You see the Mono Black decks on MTGO and they're all the same. It looks like it's just a bot playing the same list. They don't even change a card. But I think that there is definitely a lot to explore. And I'm curious to know your opinion, because I don't think I've ever asked you. So I have shaved 1 Cabal Coffers and 1 Urborg. And I think that is because not oftentimes, but I had a bunch of hands with Swamp, Cabal Coffers, Night's Whisper that I was forced to mulligan. and that would like be a great hand, like like Fatal Push, Night's Whisper, whatever, Shield Red, the one ring. But that type of hand obviously you can't keep, because if you don't draw another land, you can't cast a spell on turn 2. So I decided to take away a little bit of the how can you say, explosiveness, or like getting the combo on from turn 4 on, but in exchange having like the 4th land not be Execo Urborg to cast your ring, things like that. Like, what do you think about that change I made?
Anthony first.
I don't think I would have made it. I mean, you mean it still taps for mana on turn 4, so there's a fairly specific window in which it doesn't work, I would say. I think your deck is just underpowered if you don't have something like this to go over the top of other decks, like, I don't know, 4-color or whatever. I mean, I understand wanting to cut it because of consistency issues, which I do think the mono black deck has, but I think that's one that where I would just take my lumps.
Okay, well, I think there's a little bit more to unpack in that, because you not only did cut some of the lands, but also did cut the Thoughtseize, right? To make it more like a Steamline deck, where you have more Whispers and more removal. Is that correct? I think that's what you did exactly. Wasn't it, Mengu?
Yeah, so this is the list from this Italian player who has been done very well recently, Enrico Mercurio, and he has played no Thoughtseize, so that you don't have any bad cards against Cam. And not that Thoughtseize is necessarily a bad card against Cam, but the way the matchup against Cam goes is that you go to top deck mode every time. Like, it's very rare that you don't find yourself in that top deck mode scenario, and both of you, actually, funny enough, how all my games against Count went. And I was very happy to not have Thoughtseize and have the Night's Whisper. I also play against Murktide, and very happy with the 4 Whispers. So, that's the reason for not having Thoughtseize.
No, I know. Yeah, I mean, I think that's given if you look at the deck list. What I wanted to say is, okay, well, you cut Thoughtseize because of those reasons, and those reasons are actually like cohesive with the fact that you cut the lands, because, I mean, the lands are there so your deck is good when the matchups are bad. Like, let's say you play against a matchup that's like a stack based where removals are bad, and then your deck is embarrassing, right? What happens there is, if you have Thoughtseize and Explosive Start, you can actually come back. But I think neither is enough, so you probably need Disruption plus a good Tron hand. And here, you're trying to make your deck more functional and better against the scam decks and decks that are similar to that. Whereas you're kind of giving up, in a way, if you know what I mean, like giving up matchups where those cards are good. So I think it's actually very cohesive. Like, if you decide Thoughtseize is bad, I think it makes sense to actually make the deck so you function more, because you're not trying to steal games by being explosive. You're just trying to work as this like control deck where your over the top plan is to just Karn with Cabal Coffers, but you're not aiming. Like, if you have a hand in this deck that's just removals and card advantage, you're happy, you don't need to Tron anymore. So I actually think this makes a lot of sense. I like it.
Yeah, and also the sideboard duress over leyline is another thing that I enjoy, because of course I don't have Thoughtseize, but I still want some Discard Spell in, like, honestly, just almost every other matchup outside of Scam, which makes you think, well, then should you just be side them out? But I think that Scam is consistently the most popular deck, and so yeah, I just really like to be main decked against that.
One talisman,
No, yeah, I changed it. I changed it actually. This is the one change that I walked back. I put the one troll of Kazandoom from this picture. Because what I do usually is that I take this picture when I build the decks, which is like few days before, and then so sometimes like this deck picks are slightly different. But yeah, also I walked back another change, one ring in the side, and just played 3 in the main, 3 Shieldred, because this deck, unlike Tron, actually doesn't have that many payoffs. So often like you draw one payoff, or like one payoff remained because they discarded everything else, and you want to go Karn and get the ring. Whereas maybe Tron has like so many other payoffs that you don't mind. Just Karn is gonna get you something else, because you also have Tron, which is more. You have Tron more likely than this deck, and yeah. So also another problem with Coffer is that Anthony said, like, Coffer still adds you 4 mana. Adds 1 mana. So Coffers add 1 mana if you have 3 other swamps, which isn't a given, like, at all. If you have 7 demolition field effects, on turn 4. So maybe Coffers adds mana on turn 4, even if you don't have Urborg, yes, but sometimes it doesn't. So that is my problem with playing too many of those effects. But again, I
To
think
be
this
fair,
deck is good. I
I
think
think you
it's
can solve that by playing fewer of the fields. I mean, it's not a given you have to have 7, right?
Yeah, exactly. You are you mentioned this often. I don't know if you mentioned it on stream or just in the Karnies Discord that you want to splash a color. Remember, player top hated a PTQ on Magic Online with splashing white for prismatic ending and didn't play any demolition field. Playing fetch land, turning on the push better and the cling to dust better, which is a good thing for sure. But also was able to beat Murktide in the long game, stone raining all the red mana. I beat a 4-color Rhino, Stone Raining all the red mana, and the same thing, I didn't play against 4-color, but the same happened against 4-color, since you Stone Rain, like they have 3 red sources, or 4 maybe, and you just kill them all, so they can never play a red card. So yeah, this is something that actually comes up, and I think it's one of the reasons why 4-color does well, Mono Black does well against 4-color. It's mostly Karn get the Sundering Titan. That is mostly the reason why you do well, but the Storm Raining red is also a cool addition to that. But yeah, this weekend something else happened in America. A big event, the SCG Pittsburgh, where a player dominated both. Because there was, I think, one main event, like 3 large events, let's say, and they were daily. They don't split them in 2 days anymore. And it's Travis Brown. Who,
Again,
yeah,
right? Like, why is not everyone
yeah.
playing Solitude in Hammer if this person's been doing this forever? And winning again, like every few weeks we go like, yeah, I mean, there's Solitude there. Why Strict Proctor? What does it do in the format? Fury.
So Strict Proctor is here for I would say you'd break this in against the 4-color beans, because it stops both Leyline Binding and Solitude, or rather slows them down. It's also good against Amulet Titan. I believe it stops every single Amulet
It
triggers.
stops the
And
Amulet shenanigans. All right,
yeah,
that's great.
it also
That's a good one.
is a nombo with Stoneforge Mystic, which sometimes I've seen my opponent doing that, and that wasn't great.
I guess
But,
Fortuneo also. I mean, this is the number with Sigarda's 8 also.
Whenever permanent enters the battlefield causes a trigger to ability to counter that. Yes, I think so.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, maybe you can just pay the 2. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not as bad as
not
the
that
Amulet,
bad. Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, I mean, obviously not great,
Yeah.
but
And also it's playing 3 Corset Totem, which is the highest amount of Corset Totem I've ever seen in a sideboard.
well, I mean,
that got better than it
yeah.
ever has been, right? To be fair,
It's also like Jammoth is the worst matchup for Hammer among
Yeah.
the most played decks, so it makes sense. If you build a card that's lights out unless they kill it, might as well just play 3, and you can also
Yeah,
protect it
and,
with some of the cards here anyway.
yeah.
So.
I think like Curse
Yeah.
Totem has never been good against more than one deck before, but now we have both Yawgmoth and Scales that are kind of popular. So I think makes sense that we're seeing Curse Totem finally.
And he beat Corey Baumeister in the final, your future top 4 competitor of the Modern Super League. Corey has been playing Rakdos Scam for a very long time. I'd be surprised if he doesn't play Scam today. At the Modern Super League, I mean, to Javier. But, anything could happen. I believe he's in the bracket opposite of you, so he's playing Spike.
Yep. We
And the winner
might face in the
plays the-
finals. Yeah, it's me against Canister
Yeah,
and Spike against Corey. So we'll see. We might
Yeah.
face the finals or in the 3rd and 4th place match. It's like
And,
unpredictable.
And notably, all of these scam decks that did well this weekend, none of them plays Molten Collapse, which is the new removal spell that was already legal last weekend. So they decided that Terminate was better, which I guess it could be, like, being an instant speed card is huge against a plethora of decks. But today I played I didn't play like Rakdos Camp plus Molten Collapse. I played a slightly different build, which maybe we can talk about. But also I played Molten Collapse, and I never got to kill any permanent, but I got to kill a Grist, which is something that Terminate doesn't do. And sometimes a Grist, if you don't have a Fury, could be annoying. But it's not that that is a bad matchup anyway. The Yawgmoth, so you still probably win the game. But yeah, the build I was playing today, that maybe you guys can tell me what you think, was playing Trumpeting Carnosaur. This is the new card from Ixalan, which is a 6-mana 7/6 trample. When it comes into play, discover 5. Discover is similar to Cascade, although it triggers on ATB. It doesn't trigger on cast. So if you reanimate this, you actually get the discover ability. You put this in the graveyard via discarding this for 3, and it deals 3 damage to a creature or planeswalker. So you can discard this to do its ability, and then you can reanimate it with persist. Same thing you do with troll, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, this was, I guess, as a content creator, I can't always play the tier 1, but this was a nice new idea that I was happy to experiment with. I mean, the league I played with, honestly, I just drew so well that this thing only came up once, and I probably would have won regardless. But
did you do the Fable
Rakdos...
plus Carnosaur? Because that sounds actually powerful. Like, if you ever have Fable plus, like, you know, like just a Storm Cascade copy return or whatever.
Yeah,
You did? Nice.
I think I have a screenshot. I might not have a screenshot, but I do win the game. Because I reanimate Trumpeting Carnosaur and I cascade into Fable, and my opponent just concedes on the spot. And
no, what I mean is if you flip with Fable and you reanimate the Carnosaur, okay.
I would have got there if they didn't concede. I think because
too good.
That's what I did. Yeah, but yeah, this is again Rakdos Scam definitely gaining a new card in Molten Collapse. I remember Yuavier says something on the line that Idetsugu's. It's not great, like you don't like that card, and you would be happier to replace that card with Molten Collapse if you have to play a Cyber slot like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Hitotsugu is particularly good, but yeah, I think Collapse is a card that might help scam decks a little bit. Like, I'm not sure if it's going to be good or not, but definitely, like, if you look at the top 8 of top 16 of the tournament you showed before, well, there are some decks where Collapse is better, right? I mean, I assume it's better against Hammer, against Scales also. It's not given, but I will assume it is, because obviously Instant Speed is at premium against the combo decks also. But what do you think? I mean, I will say against Scales, like killing the Scales has to be better, right? I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe also it was not played because of card availability. I don't know how it works on the previous.
Card availability shouldn't really be an issue for these events, I assume.
Even if the cards are new? Like, I don't know if that happens.
The vendors can just sell them, so it's fine. Like,
okay, so
there shouldn't be a problem getting those cards. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I mean, it's just not that implausible to me that it was a conscious decision. I mean, if you just don't expect the specific decks that Collapse is good against to be played, then you just wouldn't play it, which I think is totally reasonable. That people could just have that knowledge of the field that Hardened Scales would not be that popular, and then decide not to play Molten Collapse. It seems.
Yeah, also Omnath, for example, is a card.
Because
Omnath is a card where Dominant is better.
Yeah. Because that's also like a thing about these paper events, right? Like, it's more likely that people have an actual read on the field in that way that lets them say, okay, there's not going to be a lot of scale, so I can cut back on cards against that. That's much less true than for online events, I think. So, that's much less true for online events, I should say. So, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't read too much into it. Like, we know why the card is good and when we would use it. And, you know, the fact that it's I don't think it's like a broadly good card, right? I don't think it's just a card that just overall upgrades the deck so easily. It's just good in a specific spot. And, you know, if it wasn't played this weekend, it just means that spot wasn't true for this weekend. So, sure, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mango, what is 5-color Reanimator?
It should be the good old.
I know. I see this thing.
Whoa, what's this?
Oh, the True Hero deck.
Oh, okay, never mind. Okay, yeah. Oh, that's a cool deck though. I just got thrown because the first card I saw, my eyes just went to the Falaji Archaeologist. I was like, whoa.
What about the Griselbrand?
Well, yeah, there's that too.
Yeah, the winner on Friday was 4-color Beans playing Jace, which I always love to see. There's also
Cosmic Rebirth. What was that?
Cosmic Rebirth. Cosmic Rebirth is the 3-mana instant card that reanimates a permanent if it costs 3 or less. So you can put into play. Oh, and gain 3 life. It's not bad. And you can put into play Teferi, Bean, or yeah, that's it basically. Teferi and Bean, I think, is what this card aims at doing. I mean, it's just a one-off. I don't know. Shouldn't be too big of a deal. Also, this player, I think, is very high on the Inevitable Betrayal on the sideboard. I think he even said it. He would love to play more than one. I think he, yeah. Sure. I remember seeing his post. I think he made a a longer tweet saying he liked the list and things like that. He was playing 4 Bloodbraid Elf and 2 Omnat. But yeah, definitely a deck that actually at my RCQ, 32 players. Last time I went there with Tron, I think that Scum and 4-color were tied for most played deck, like 5 copies, and this one there was 0 4-color. So all the 4-color players quit
because you beat them
quit
with
the deck.
Tron. You beat them with Tron, so they quit 4
Yeah.
colors, right? And they play Scam, and then you pick coffers to beat the Scam. You're genius.
Well, they knew at
Yeah, there
32
was
players,
actually-
the tournament would be too long to play 4-color. So they wisely chose not to play it.
Yeah,
Very
there
smart.
were 2 mono black.
No,
and
not
we
again,
both,
Anthony. Not
and we-
again.
And we both top forward. There were 2 mono black and we both top forward. So
Oh, nice.
yeah,
Good feel
the
for it,
mono
I
black
guess.
did well. Yeah, another tournament that happened at SAG Pittsburgh was the 5K Legacy event, and my eyes go on the deck that came 9th actually, Boston Roll, another Legacy content creator, and he was playing a card that's not even legal on Magic Online. That is the Triumph of Saint Catherine. This card worked very well with the Up the Beanstalk. It's a 5 mana 5/5 Baneslayer Angel basically. I guess it doesn't have flying. I should have said 5/5 lifelink. And it has miracles. So you can just ponder on turn 1, put this 3rd, right? And then you can go land, do something, land. No, sorry, miracle does. You can cast it on turn 3. I guess that way you don't trigger beans. But yeah, I mean, it's a thing that you can cast off of beans later for just 2 mana and draw a card. And he wasn't even playing Uro. He was playing 3 Triumph of Saint Catherine.
Okay, why is this card that
So,
good,
this-
Mango? To illustrate me and us. Like, I think this card, I think like, okay, this is a turn 3 5/5 lifelink. Is that even like
Mhm.
power level play on Legacy? Like, why is I see this card on the surface? It doesn't strike to me as very good. It looks to me like a better Sarah Avenger, like has lifelink or whatever, but Sarah Avenger is like not close to be playable. Why is this good?
It's kind of weird, right? It's not on Magic Online, so people either assume that A, it's not good enough, or B, it's not there, but it's broken, so we should play it. Why is this good? I mean, it's very cheap and it triggers beans. It's like Leyline Binding, right? 2 mana Oblivion Ring.
Well, but 2 mana Oblivion Ring is better than 3 mana 5/5. I guess 2 mana 5/5. But...
No, 2 mana. But like Oblivion Binding wasn't played before beans, and now it is. And this might be similar. Like this card wasn't considerable before beans, but if it's a 2 mana 5/5 that draws a card, now that's good. Also, I noticed that it has like a randomly a Latin ability, Presidium Protectiva. Yes.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
that ability. I guess
Random.
I'm assuming that ability is not a big deal, but
I mean, ability is when it dies.
goes,
yeah, when
basically
it
goes
dies,
into the
you
top
sh-
6 at random, I guess.
Yeah.
It goes into
Doesn't seem like a
6.
big deal, but I'm just looking for things where we could be missing something, because like I assume if it was
I mean, you can cast it instant speed with a brainstorm or a cantrip. That's
Yeah,
cool.
that's
you know?
kinda
Like,
nice, I
You
guess.
ponder, put it on 3rd, and you brainstorm in combat, like, and just instant. I guess. I mean, I've never played with the card, but I'm seeing like it's just kind of under. I mean, the stats are not bad, but it's legacy. Like legacy, the power level of
yeah,
the
that's
cards
the problem.
are.
It's stats, right? That's it.
Yeah,
Like,
it's just
you're playing
stats.
legacy
Like,
and it's just stats. The stats are good, but it's stats. That's it.
It's also not automatic to actually play the card. Like you have to miracle, otherwise it costs 5, which legacy. I don't
Yeah,
know.
you're not
I mean,
doing that.
Yeah.
I would like to try the card at some point, but even if I play control, I don't think I'm interested in that effect. I mean, I wouldn't mind trying one, maybe. But...
And the winner was Alex Bastecki, which is definitely a name I heard from the past SCG, and he was playing the 4-color Uro that isn't yours, because there's 2 lines of Uro decks in Legacy right now. One is the one splashing red for 4th Olingas and plays the 1 ring, and one is the Ozymandias version with a Leyline Binding up the Beanstalk, so splashing black instead of red for Okish Bowmaster. And I guess this one is maybe more friendly for paper play, because I don't know.
Why is that?
Why is that? It's faster, maybe?
I will think this one is slower, right? Because Orlingas actually ends the game on the spot. Like you use Orlingas for X7, attack you for 14, you're dead.
Yeah.
Maybe this is better. I honestly have not played with this deck much or at all.
And congrats to Robert Hires, who's definitely must be a great player to finish that high with Demir Scam, a deck I wasn't able to win a match with. That's the first, like, yeah, the next date's deck is at 15th place. But yeah, outside of that, this weekend there is the Legacy Eternal Weekend. I have settled on a deck. Next week we'll definitely talk about it. Yeah, there is. It's gonna be a long tournament. I'm excited for that though. On Friday I'll be doing some meet and beat events. So if you're listening to this and are coming to Prague on Friday at 1 p.m., you can beat me and win some Cortex sleeves. Probably playing some Legacy BO1. Okay, guys. How about we move to Standard to hear how some of the new cards might impact that format.
Yeah, sounds good.
That will make Anthony happy for once.
I mean, for once, I'm always happy.
Okay. So Anthony shared a couple of decks. One is around the card Quintorius Gand, which is a Planeswalker. I believe we mentioned this in the past episode, but let's read it again. The static ability says, whenever you cast a spell from the exile, Quintorius drains 2 life. So your opponent loses 2, you gain 2. What does it mean, casting a spell from the exile? It means the card Reckless Impulse and Brand's Resolve.
Oh,
You're
and
playing
Adventures.
the cards from the exile.
And
Adventures.
Yeah.
Okay. Very important. +1, you make a 3/2 token. -3, you discover 4. And -6, it's basically the old Tibalt.
No, it's not. We have this conversation in the other podcast. It's not the same. This just happened. Stop.
Don't worry about it.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Anthony's deck is a Boros midrange deck, so you try to gain card advantage with Brand's Resolve and Reckless Impulse. Yeah, I don't know. You want to talk a little bit about this deck?
Sure. I mean, like the Pia deck was one that was existing before, but they tended to be a lot more aggressive. But I feel like they're not quite aggressive enough to fill that role in the metagame. So I thought maybe some of the new spells can let you try to do the Chandra light up thing in standard again, where I think counter spells might not work so well against Atraxa. So maybe mid-range, maybe exploring some kind of mid-range deck that has this kind of plan against Atraxa decks or domain decks in general might be a thing. I mean, Quintorius is part of it, in that I think maybe the card is decent. Like if you untap with it, maybe you can deal a ton of damage using one of the Reckless Impulse effects or any adventures. But I think it was more about, I wanted to see if any slower white decks would exist because of Get Lost. Actually, we'll talk a little bit more about Get Lost in general in a moment, I guess. But yeah, I was trying to explore different decks with Get Lost.
Yeah, so
because I think this is like maybe a game
removal
changer standard. Go on.
No, I was just saying that Get Lost is a new removal spell. 1 white instant destroys target creature or enchantment or planeswalker. Its controller create 2 map tokens. And map tokens is that artifact that you pay 1, you tap, sacrifice, and target creature you control explores. So this is an up. We've called this to be an upgrade to the, what was it called? The Fate of.
Well, kind of.
Faithful Absence.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's not totally clear whether it is, but most of the value is that it kills enchantments, which in standard are pretty important right now. Whether 2 maps or a clue is better is not clear, because if killing enchantments is not important, then this card is probably pretty close to Fateful Absence. Maybe it's better, maybe it's worse, but nobody plays Fateful Absence, so that probably wouldn't be a good sign for Get Lost. So we are kind of counting on killing enchantments being valuable here. But I do think that's the case. I mean, you see Wedding Announcement, Virtue of Loyalty, Leyline Binding, they're all super important enchantments in standard right now, so I have high hopes we Get Lost. I do think that if you play this card, it's also like Fateful Absence in that you can't really be aiming to completely just grind your opponent out. You need to have something to go over the top, which is why I wanted to pair it with Chandra Light Up the Night, or, just Burn in general. So you can, just make it so card advantage doesn't matter too much.
My problem maybe here with this list is that Chandra Light Up the Night was something that you were doing in Rakdos midrange, and you were very easily able to discard Light Up the Night with Fable or Blood, whereas here might be just not a good card to draw now that you can't.
Well, you can just cast it as well. I think that's reasonable to do. Like, I think Light Up the Night is like not that bad a card by itself, particularly if you're going to play
Okay.
the cards that Pia does, that enable it to have a lot of reach naturally. So just fireballing out your opponent is not unreasonable. Pia, a Console of Revival, yeah.
It's
So-
a pretty
Yeah,
good
that
card.
is another way
It's a strong
for
card.
you to
Yeah.
exploit those effects. Is there a world where you play Naya also for Questing Druid?
Yeah,
Is
that's what a
that
lot of lists do
interesting?
currently, but I don't know. I feel like the splash is quite expensive. Because
Yeah,
you often want to use a lot of
for
your
sure.
mana, because of the way the impulse effects work. So I feel like the green splash is not worth it. Similar to how we felt like Questing Druid was a pretty impressive card when we splashed for it in the green black deck, and it just wasn't quite good because butchered the mana to do so. Like obviously it's not the same card here as it was there, but I had the same sort of feeling where I was like, oh, these tap lands really hurt here. It is a strong card.
Yeah, I mean
though.
Yeah.
it's probably better to stick to two colors, but also like this could play some of the one drops. Like at least some amount of Swiss Spears probably looks like
Yeah,
it
something
might
like that
be
could
good enough.
Yeah.
Because you need one drop. Like so many like impulses without one drop actually makes you feel like you cannot cast impulse in turn 2 and still get it one more play in turn 2. You know, like even removal. I think some one drops will definitely help here as well. I will say.
Yeah, I was wondering if you wanted like small burn spells, but small creatures could work as well. Like I was thinking about like play with fire, torch the tower type things, but Swiss Spear is more unconditional. In that, flipping a play with fire, torch the tower is not always worth a card, right? If your opponent doesn't have a target.
Yeah.
But Swiss
Even
Spear is
a
always
mix,
card.
maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah, Swiss Spear also plays well with Virtue, right? Like
it does.
with what Virtue? You can just it does. Like
It's
you
kind
can,
of sweet.
you can attack. Like you can just go Swiss Spear into Virtue and suddenly you are clocking like fast. Well, you still have all these grindy cards anyway.
Yeah, that could be good. So that would be a more aggressive direction again, so closer to the older Pia decks, but I could see that being very good as well. So there's a couple of different ways you can go with Quintorius, because I can also see Quintorius being a very good top end, right? I do think you have to work to make his triggered ability good specifically. Like I don't really care about the discover ability, for example. Like you use it sometimes, but like we're playing the card because we want to untap with it and deal 6 damage with it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're actually right. It looks like Quintorius and Chandra might actually be players fighting for the same spot. Like they do the same
I
in the
think
deck,
so.
right? They
Yeah.
provide you card advantage and reach, and it's very likely that one of them is better than the other. It looks like
I
Quintorius
expect so.
probably should be better because Quintorius actually synergizes with the deck. Meanwhile, Chandra here, I mean, it's a good card, but it doesn't really.
It's
feel
just
like
awkward
it
to have an
belongs-
expensive
yeah.
spell. Like the main tension I have with it is that it's an expensive spell in a deck that really like wants as lower curve as possible. Like it's kind of rough
It's
to
bad with
play.
impulse.
Like you just never want to hit it off the impulses until like turn 5, right? So, yeah, that would be the main tension. I thought maybe you could try to just play a lot of them. Like I thought, well, because originally I just had 4 Quintorius because I just wanted to try the card and then decided I would try to split them instead and see if that worked. But I do think it's likely that they're similar in that you probably don't want both or too many of one. I think like it's possible that 4 is just too many.
I mean, maybe 3 Quintorius is enough to actually like. You're gonna see a lot of cards in a deck like this with 8 impulses. You're gonna go dig through your library, so you don't really need that much. Especially if your deck is like able to actually win games the first style. Like you go Swiss Spear, Pia, removal, put a token, whatever, and then you play Virtue, and that might be enough to win games in standard, right?
I think so.
So you don't really need to have these like heavyweight cards in your deck, especially the main deck. Like obviously Cyborg will be where you want them because you want them against like heavy interaction, but this doesn't seem to be the world the standard's living on. So I will say this should probably be better a little bit more like streamline on one of the things and not try to just have those like low cards, big cards, because that's probably how you actually end being more weak to Atraxa than like you're trying to do this to have a better Atraxa matchup. But I think, ironically, it might end being like not as good. I don't know. If that
well, I
makes
mean, I
sense.
think if you can fit Swiss
Yeah, I
Spear,
think-
it's definitely better than trying to change with them. Like that's for sure. Like literally, the best thing you can do against Domain is start playing on turn 1. I think, because they never do. I just hadn't actually considered Swiss Spear for this deck, which I think you could do it.
We'll see. I mean,
You'd
I'm
have to
playing all
rebuild the
formats
deck.
by the standard.
What's that?
Anthony. So I'm playing all formats by the standard. So I can.
I'm mostly playing Pioneer now, but I couldn't resist trying to throw together a couple of standard decks after seeing the new cards. There's so much you can do.
The
I don't
thing,
know.
the thing I'm afraid here is that, playing 5 and 6 drops with 8 Friends Resolve Impulse might be a little bit bad. Like, you just play one on turn 3, I don't know, and just flip a 6 drop. It's like,
Yeah, I
yeah,
wasn't
there's the
sure
problem.
because
Just
they're like
having,
bad to flip off them
yeah.
earlier, but having them in your deck also makes it so flipping lands is much better. Like, yeah, I'm not. I was not sure which way to go on there. I would have to play a little bit to
But
see.
if you, yeah, but if you look at your mana base, you have 4 creature land and even the Mirror X, so it's supposed to be okay, even if you just, making sure you hit land drops. So you have what is it? The Heartflame Duelist and the Virtue, which are again mana hungry. Yeah, so I feel like it's a lot of things to do with the mana. But yeah, the Reckless Impulse Rends Resolve effects were I think it's just a super powerful effect that should be definitely more played. Like I think Questing Druid really showed how card draw can can
They're
can,
just
can
all
go in every
Night Whispers.
format.
That's a modern playable card. You're gonna play 8 Night Whispers. Totally the same thing.
You don't lose life even,
And you don't draw a card. Just
even
down
better, with
modern
all
these
these
days.
orcs around.
Yeah, it's a Night
Yeah.
Whisper that gets
And
around Sheoldred. That sounds so broken. Oh my god.
yeah. Um, what about the Dinos deck? You sent me this Dinos list, and so you remember we mentioned it on the podcast at the beginning. The Palani's Hatcher, the 5 mana 5/3 that the dinosaur friend.
Yeah, makes eggs or whatever. Yeah. So there's a lot of people who are excited about the dinosaurs cards in the new set, which makes sense. It seems like the most pushed tribe, and I feel like doing the ramp thing with it, like it's natural to try to build a ramp deck with all these dinosaurs cards. But I think that's probably not fruitful because all of the dinosaurs ramp decks look to me like they are worse domain decks because like whatever you ramp into is like always going to be like way weaker than Atraxa, I think. And the fact that a bunch of the dinosaurs ramp cards are creatures also makes you more interactable than domain is because it's much harder to interact with Topiary Stomper and Invasion of Zendikar than Mana Dorks. So yeah, I didn't like the idea of ramping into the big dinosaurs. The cards that make me interested in playing dinosaurs are Ixali's Lawkeeper, which I think leans you towards being more aggressive than like an actual ramp deck. But the being able to play like a lot of like aggressive creatures and 1 mana removal is what I think would be a direction where I could see the dinosaurs cards being put to good use, as opposed to being a big ramp deck. So I think cards like Hulking Raptor are pretty promising. They're like powerful cards, but I don't really want to play them in a dinosaurs deck. I think like the best dinosaurs cards are cards like Pugnacious Hammerskull and Triumphant Chomp, so I want to maximize those cards instead. Like I just want to bash, basically.
Yeah, I mean the Hammer Skull is just like good. Like it's definitely like
this card just seems
above average. Like it's pioneer level power.
Yeah.
Like it's a 6/6. Like if you manage to make the drawback small, this is just like massive. I mean,
So this is a 3 mana 6/6. Whenever it attacks, if you don't control another dinosaur, you put a stun counter on it, so like it doesn't untap.
Yeah, but like
Yeah, but
even if
of
that's the
course,
case,
building it-
it's not like super bad. Like obviously it's not great, but it's just like so large. It's just bigger than everything.
You can just
play it in.
It's probably not that hard to have another dinosaur, I think.
I mean, we just talk about like a 2 mana 5/5 laughing being good in Legacy, and this is a 3 mana 6/6, for standard. So stats can be good sometimes.
Looking for
I think
belligerent, it's with an E, Mangu. Belligerent Yearling, so that's a 3. So you have like a bunch of like really powerful nut draws with this deck. So you could play, just try Yearling, Mangu.
Yeah, sorry.
You can start with Ixali's Lawkeeper into Hammerskull, and then play any dinosaur after that, which is pretty impressive. Like for example, like some of your nut draws are like, let's say Lawkeeper into Pugnacious Hammerskull into Rampaging Raptor, attack with 10 on turn 3s. It's kind of wild. But
this is wild. Like you play Mistlock and you're at 10 and you're dead next turn.
Like Yearling does some similar things. Like it's not as explosive, but for example, Yearling into Hammerskull is also really impressive, right? You're attacking for 6 with your 2-drop. Like it's
the Mimic. Yeah, it's just
huge.
a lot. Like these cards are just very aggressive and they're good. I mean, I don't know. Like they just seem powerful to me. They feel like across the most powerful cards in the set. I mean, I don't know if they're gonna be good enough to be like a deck in standard because these cards were like probably made still with 2-year standard in mind, right?
Yes.
So they were probably made to actually be good in like they look to me like this deck will actually be good in a standard, in a 2-year standard.
Yeah.
Now though the standard, yeah, like the bigger one, the power level really scales up very fast because decks can shape weaknesses or whatever, and this deck will not be able to do that because they're not like breach dinosaurs. They're all older, or at least like not very good ones or whatever. So I think this deck might not see as much play as it will have without the changes.
I think that's good. I mean, that would be true for most like linear decks, I think. Which
exactly, yeah. But this one, imagine if it was like a 6-set standard or 5 decks, 5 sets, and you're like, turn 2/6/6 into play, no drawback.
The biggest things that the main thing I just want to highlight is that I think this is the approach to dinosaurs that you want to take, and not a bigger ramp one. Like you want to actually attack and exploit cheap removal, because I think that's fundamental to standard in general. Like it's very rare that a deck is good and isn't able to like exploit some kind of interaction, right? Like if you look at every good standard deck for I don't know how long, they all like specifically have an excellent removal spell or interactive spell that makes them good to play. Domain of Leyline Binding, cut down, make disappear, whatever. And so I think it's very appealing that this deck gets to play a lot of specifically cheap removal, because Bushwhack lines up very well with the cheap and large dinosaurs, right? And they actually printed Triumphant Chomp, so maybe you can out-tempo other creature decks this way. Yeah, and I also wanted to emphasize like haste creatures as well, because otherwise I think this type of creature deck can be very vulnerable to Sunfall, which is why, for example, I think Palani's Hatcher is a better card than Bonehood Dracosaur, despite probably being a little lower in power level in general. Or stuff like Kogel and Yadara. I just want to be able to get back on the attack after a Sunfall, which was a theme that also came up with the black-green deck, but it's easier to do it here because once you're a red creature deck, you can just play haste creatures and have that done. Other than that, there's like not. I mean, this is relatively self-explanatory, right? Like once we get past the concept, I think dinosaurs should be aggressive. Then I don't know. There's not that many dinosaurs. You just play all the good ones on curve, right?
Well, here you're playing one concept I want to talk about 1 second, Mango, is like here you're playing one thing is haste creatures are actually a synergy pieces usually in terms of like deck building, where it doesn't matter which limited, constructed, whatever, haste cards actually synergize with other haste cards. So the more haste creatures you have, the more valuable it is to actually have creatures with haste, which is not the case for abilities like flying or whatever. I think it's something you can see here.
Yeah, that's actually true.
And you want to curve out
it's similar to how burn spells
so much that you
go on. Yeah.
No, I'm just saying that you want to curve out so much that you don't even play for Restless, the creature land, the Garul creature land.
Yeah. Which also because that one just isn't
supposed to be.
It's just not that exciting a rate. But yeah, I think you don't want to play many. But it's also because I budgeted Bushwhack as a tap land, so you really can't afford too many of them.
Bushwhack sounds better than this land, actually.
I think so. Yeah.
Still probably worth a 2-up though.
Yeah, I didn't mind like trying to fit one, but
yeah, the Wilds of a Drain cycle is so much better than
is it?
Than this one.
I think they're kind of equal. Maybe Eldraine's a little better.
See, I mean, we'll talk about this also in the last podcast, right? Cottage is another level. So Cottage obviously spoils the average. But if you ignore Cottage, not necessarily. Maybe not.
They're all they're not that different. I don't know.
No. Yeah, I think if you ignore Cottage, they're all kind of like... Maybe the white green can actually be good.
I like the white green one a lot. Yeah. That's a very powerful effect to have hiding on a land.
Yes. Yeah, because you can just curve out and then bam, make it's also because like 6. Yeah.
There's a lot of natural, like the generically good white cards already support going wide, right? Like you don't really have to, like if you put I don't know any of these other cards, you have to do a little bit of work probably. But with like Restless Prairie, like I don't know, what do I have to do? Play Wedding Announcement and Virtue of Loyalty and Wandering Emperor in my white deck? Like okay, so.
The green blue one is actually good. Also, but it doesn't have a deck or
it's really hard
combination in standard. Like it's a bad color combination. If the green blue one was like green white or black white or whatever,
probably
it would be very
busted.
Good. Yeah, exactly. Like I think this one is actually very good as well, but it's just like a bad color combination, which is a different thing.
I feel that happens a lot to blue green, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, blue green is just a not good combination in standard.
Well, they tried to fix it for a little while, and then I think people decided.
Well, they did print some good
people
placeholders.
decided they didn't enjoy that that much.
I mean,
the back-to-back Uro Oko.
Yeah, I mean,
Oko Uro.
It's usually either very bad or like completely busted.
It kind of makes sense because like if they're the colors with the least interaction and that don't naturally synergize the best, it kind of makes sense that they're more feast or famine, right? Like because when they're too good, when it's actually good, it's probably because something was like way too good.
Yeah, it does make sense. Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah. Where black green or black red or whatever, they're always like fun combinations, standard. Not always, but you know what I mean.
Naturally combine well. Yeah, I don't know. There was less to say about the dinosaurs deck other than that one key point, I think. But I'm kind of optimistic about it. Maybe I'll play some standard events this weekend and see.
Oh, nice! Back to the the grinding.
A little bit. Also, because it's nice to mix. Because like it's nice to play more than one format at a time. I think it creates good variety and so like I would like to play standard and pioneer for a while. So it's good. I don't worry about old formats. So it's all good.
Like it's almost like historic.
Yeah. I don't want to have to worry about stuff like that. It's got historic. Look, it's got historic. Literally means old. I don't have to worry about historical legacy or vintage. 5 formats. It's a lot of pressure, Javier. You're putting yourself on a lot of pressure. I'm just chilling. I gotta enjoy some new cards and not worry about things.
But what about the fact that historic is a way younger format than modern?
It is a bit.
I'm not judging the names, but I'm saying the names are a little bit maybe not very accurate. What's going on in the formats?
Well, I think modern just being called modern is a bit weird anyway. So
yeah, I just realized this. Like, who?
Well, it made sense at the time.
Right? Oh, it did. Yeah, I'm not saying, but maybe. I guess you just don't change the names of the format anymore. But
it's like the adult people called junior.
Oh yeah. Because it makes sense that they're junior when they're grown up, but they're still called junior when they're 45 or whatever, right? Makes sense.
Yeah. Anyway, do you have any plan on playing any of the MOX events this weekend on Magic Online, or do you just don't really play too much of that?
I'll play some regular challenges or whatever. I don't know.
Ooh.
The showcase challenge are like 3M for Anthony. So
yeah, it's a special occasion. I'm interested enough in trying some standard decks. Like, might not be these. I'm just gonna keep trying to throw a bunch of things at the wall and see if anything, take a shine to anything over the week. Yeah.
Well, I'm not really for this though, and I have a question. Like, okay, so I'm gonna play in the Eternal Weekend, so I'm gonna bring my laptop. So if I, do bad, I will probably just play from the laptop on the MOX challenges. So what would you guys recommend for me to play in Modern and in Pioneer showcase challenges, considering this situation? So don't tell me to play Ragdoll Sacrifice because I will time out probably. What would you guys recommend me to play?
You have literally one option. If you're going to put those constraints, you have literally one option for Modern, right? So
do I have a lot of them, right?
What? I mean, ones that you won't risk timing out?
I mean, I'm playing on a laptop. I'm not playing like I'm playing 5. I'm just saying, like, I don't want to play a deck that you will. I don't want to play 4 color beans.
Yeah, so like, what's a good deck where you won't time out? Because
I could play Rhinos, I could play Burn, I could play Tron. I could play a lot of decks. Yeah, actually,
you played Burn at the last.
I did. Yeah, I actually succeed.
That was a very, very different context. Like
it was. Yeah,
I know.
I would be very happy,
but I'm just saying.
I would be very happy to sanction playing Burn in that particular scenario where you're metagaming against somebody, but in like a bigger tournament, really not.
Not a big fan, yeah. But I could play Rhinos or Tron or whatever. Like I don't know, I'm just all ears. If you guys think, I could also play the Coffers deck, I guess. Right? It's probably like.
I think you might time out with Coffers, honestly. Those games go quite long sometimes.
Possibly Lixu. I don't know. I think actually Hammer. Like I think everything but Omnath and Yawgmoth, I will probably play. Definitely Scam as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was obviously Scam. If you...
Well, I could play Scam. Yeah, no, I'm asking. Like, I'm really asking. Like,
then I would say play Scam, I guess.
Scam? All right.
Yeah, I mean, it's safe choice and, like, don't have a ton of time to dedicate to it. And
I can also play Hammer, though. This Hammer deck looks great.
It's so tough. I don't know.
Is it tough, though? Why is it tough?
Yeah.
3-turn game. I love that.
3-turn game if you're whitelisted, yeah.
Boom. Well, either way, I mean, if you pass the turn dying, that's fine.
It's not the tough games are like really, really tough, right?
Well, I play a lot of Modern, so I'm happy
you did play
with
it a
all
lot
the
already, I guess.
But I'm Pioneer. Why should
I
play
don't know.
Pioneer
If I
on
was
that
playing
constraint?
a deck without the ability to dedicate much to it, I wouldn't want a deck that was good at giving difficult spots. Because even if you've played them a lot, like you're still going to want to try to navigate them carefully, right?
Well, I can play, like, the thing with laptops or whatever is, like, sometimes the lag or something, but I can still play, I plan to play the tournament focused. So I don't mind
Okay.
playing a deck that's challenging, but I mind to play, like, I don't want my deck to be click intensive. That's the only no. But once, I'm pretty sure some people must be in this spot, right? Before some of the listeners, they travel for work or whatever, and they're playing, like, standing and holding the laptop. So, like, I think being click intensive is the actual dangerous thing. Obviously, you can struggle at focusing, but I think that's a different thing, though.
All right. I guess that opens you up a little bit more from black-red, but...
Yeah, I'm saying, like, like Hammer could be a good deck for that, like Infect or whatever, like, this could be a good deck in that context, but never, like, something like... Yeah, I think Yamamoth will be bad, because Yamamoth is, like, you have to click, and click more, and then Endurance yourself, and whatever, So, well, should I play Pioneer this weekend if I play the Mox, which, honestly, Pioneer is the day of Vintage, so probably it's going to happen.
Yeah, in Pioneer, I have two suggestions. One is the Boros Convoke, which has been doing extremely well. Some people are high on Regal Bunicorn. I believe the Brazilians, RC, had the winner and then a top hater both at 4. Some other lists have cut it. And what I suggested to my teammate when we played the team event, my teammate who didn't play much Pioneer, not that you haven't, but just saying, I suggested him Gruul, which is also a very fast deck, and with some very good results on Magic Online. So those are my two suggestions.
Okay, I like both. They're both perfect. Which one will recommend me to play among these two?
There's a lot of hype about this Warden of the Inner Sky now, right? Like, now the card is actually released and people are playing with it. I'm hearing a lot of good things about it.
What is it?
The Warden of the Inner Sky, the 1-mana 1/2 from this new set. It's a human soldier, and it can get counters.
Yeah. Oh, I brought it up on the channel. On the podcast.
Yeah, so...
Is Combo playing
this deck has a new card you can try out, I guess. So...
Okay.
How about this one?
Okay, I will probably play it then. Hopefully I will do well in Vintage. That's the...
Yeah, but that's never really under your control, is it?
Well, no. Last week I played, I just got... No, sometimes, yeah. I mean, here, before... When you ago 2 years ago, I said here, like... I mean... At the beginning of the podcast, like, well, Vintage is actually slower than Legacy often, because of the fan sex. Not anymore. That, like, now with all these Besiege decks or whatever,
right?
There's a bunch of turn 1 kills flying around. So I feel like I could actually play Convoke and Vintage at the same time, and easily I will never have, like,
At the same time.
At the same time. Like, it could be unlucky if I get 2 rounds at the same time because they're going to be fast. Like, they're both going to be fast.
Wow.
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
like.
even the control decks, like back in the days, control decks were just like this beautiful matchup in Vintage where you just would be like Drago all the time. But now every deck plays Urza Saga, which
fast.
It's like either you answer it or you die. It's just
power creep is getting Vintage somehow. Like, funnily enough.
Yeah, it's like a land that can't be countered, and like either you wasteland it or you have to win before that goes off, and it just speeds up the game so much that it's insane. Like the Vintage gameplays, it's just over. Like you open your hand, and you might not get to play any card out of it.
Really?
Yeah,
it is.
It's fast, and this Besiege one also. Besiege is just like very good in Vintage because you can use Besiege and then spell Yamamoth's Will, like actual Yamamoth's Will, and then the game's over. And yeah, I've been turn 1 killed a lot these 2 weeks playing some Vintage.
Like, okay, wow. I mean, I didn't know anything. I mean, as usual, I know nothing about Vintage, but that sounds...
Well, I just said it as a joke, but I'm actually thinking, like, if I'm, like, 5-1 or something in the Vintage, I can just try to play the Pioneer round between the rounds, because I think, if the matchups are fast, like, if I'm playing against this deck, I'm often losing in turn 1, so I just might end the round in 10 minutes consistently. Like, I might just not even get eliminated in the Magical Line round. Even if I'm playing the Vintage, I just can go play the Vintage and then maybe lose and then play Pioneer, so... I might actually try it.
Children.
Yeah. Power creep not getting Shieldred though. Multi-format superstar.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, for sure. Shield. You can besiege into Shieldra sometimes if you are like tactically
Yeah.
well stacked. And
That's
things
I mean,
very
like
Besiege
funny.
was like Besiege was super hyped, right? But at the end, it was not very good in any format. But here it is. Like here, it is actually good. Like good,
even in
good.
Legacy. I think Legacy Storm is a great deck.
I mean,
I
great
think
deck. But if you look at the results of Legacy tournaments, it won the first tournament for the week or whatever. It's not like there's Besiege. Like it's not like it's the best deck or
No,
anything. Like it's not as good
It
as we
might
thought it would
still
be.
it might still be worse than Doomsday, even in
Yeah.
Vintage.
Yeah, but still, you
It
got
might
like the
still be
last
worse than
challenges. There's
Doomsday.
none in the top 8. Like there's no copies of Besiege, but in Vintage, it's very hard to look at for a top 8 that doesn't have Besiege. Like, it's. I'm just saying, like
Oh,
the
did
deck
you
is very
see?
good.
Oh, since we are in the eternal part of the talk, the new deck, the Mississippi River deck with Creative Technique gets a new card actually in the last set,
Which one?
which is the
No more card.
Carnosaur, the Trumpeting Carnosaur. So Trumpeting Carnosaur is a 6-mana 7/6 that has Discover 5. So if you hit it off Creative Technique, you continue the chain. This is a removal
so it's like a
spell that you
Bone Crusher
can
Giant
use.
that they can actually play. Wow.
Yeah, this is a removal spell that you can use to kill, Archon of Emeria or just
Wow, this actually
Dragon's
will
Rage
make this deck
Channeler.
way less bad.
Yeah. No, for real.
No,
For real.
that's an improvement for real.
Yeah, this deck came second in the challenge. This is the Creative Technique combo deck. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but like you cascade into this thing and you just
Well, they do if they
statistically
listen to
cast
previous
your deck.
podcasts. So
Yeah, you statistically put your deck into play, you have Emrakul and Wonder, and you attack. And this deck has huge problems, though. Like, there's like 100-0. No, sorry. There's no 100-0 matchup. There is some 0-100 matchups that are lands and like Upso spells. You just can never win if you play those matchups. Actually, I played a league and I played against 2 lands and Upso spells, and I haven't played a single spell against them. And so, it has some flaws, but the Trumpeting Carnosaur is gonna make this deck better against like Initiative and Dragon's Rage Channeler.
I would say
So
considerably
something-
better actually.
Maybe a new namesake for the Karnies. I mean, it's 6-mana 7/6. Like, it's even got the right size and everything.
I mean, I think this card is better than the old card. I think it's the best card.
I mean, clearly.
I think it's the best Karnie ever printed.
Big dumb
I
creature.
thought it was. I
Yeah.
thought it was a 5/5, and I thought it was better. Imagine now, I realized it's 7/6. Like,
Man, I mean, this card seems like it could just
It's
be
actually
played in every
good.
format, honestly. Like,
yeah, this could be good in a standard also. Like, it's just a good card, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like
Picked up.
ooh.
I picked
Ooh, I
them
like
up
that art,
on the store. Yeah, no, I don't love that art, but the store I go has a lot of collective boosters, so they have a lot of those
That's pretty normal,
alternative
I think,
arts
yeah.
rather than the regular one. Yeah, even the Molten Collapse that I got just doesn't sound like a magic card at all.
I love
Should we
the
play
art.
a
I
deck,
love,
Mango?
I love the style, though.
maybe this deck is good for the Film Weekend, the Cascade deck.
This one, like, look at this.
It looks awesome.
Oh,
I don't know.
That's an
I
Anthony.
really like
That's
it.
so much of an Anthony card. Like,
The style
It's
is
red
just
and
very
black.
unique. I don't know.
No,
I enjoy it.
Javier, I actually considered this. I did consider this deck for the Eternal Weekend because Sean, which is like the only person that plays this deck a ton of Magic Online, Beekeeper, he says that this is good against like the blue fair decks, which are going to be the most popular at the tournament. But just the fact that you have like game losses against lands and fast combo, I think it's too much. Like, I don't want to play a deck that has game losses.
you're tempting me, Mango. Tempting me so much. You don't know how much.
Also, I don't have a single card for this deck.
Yeah,
which-
that's also a very tricky part. Yeah. Also.
yeah. Like,
That's-
I didn't you like ask? I thought about it. I was like,
I've-
Sean,
Emrakul,
if I
Aeon
decide to
Storm.
play this deck, can you lend me those cards? Like, no, I don't have them. I just play
Yeah.
on Magic Online. All right, cool then.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean I think it's worth considering if you have the cards, right?
It's quite cheap actually. Like, if you have to buy it from nowhere, you only need the City of Traders.
Which I don't have.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's
yeah,
Oh,
basically
you
free,
don't?
anyway.
Okay.
yeah, basically free for Anthony. I'm actually very excited for the Eternal Weekend. To be fair, like,
Yeah,
you
for
know,
sure.
obviously, I don't know how much of a big deal it is for other people, but it's been a while since the last tournament. I feel it's been ages since Worlds. It's probably like 2 months or something. But also, it has it, right? 2 months is a lot. 2 months is a lot without the tournament. So I'm actually very excited, and I can't wait to get turn 1 kill in Vintage. Like, actually, I'm excited to be there and just playing Vintage. Like,
Okay,
it's just
I'm
two
gonna hold you
different-
to that. I don't want to hear any complaints. Okay.
No, I'm not
You said you're
complaining. No,
excited.
I am excited. Like, I'm excited to play Eternal Weekend. Like, I've never played in one Eternal Weekend, so I don't even know how, I mean, I know Mango has played in some, but I have not, and I think it's fun. Like, yeah, I'm not
I played
looking,
in,
like, I don't think I'm going to do very well, but I'm going to play some rounds or whatever.
I played in many of them, actually. Yeah, I've played, I think, at least 3 or 4. As in my town, there's a lot of Vintage player. Actually, there's going to be 4 or 5 from my town that are going to Prague just for Vintage. Some of them don't even have the Power 9 as much as they love.
You know how many people with
um,
Vintage? Do you have any idea about that? Because I think Legacy is going to be a lot, but do you know Vintage?
I didn't check, no.
Yeah. Sure. Whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just seeing the top 8.
I don't know. I don't know about that, but the prizes are good of these events for sure.
We'll see.
All right.
All right.
Before we go, I wanted to thank the one patron we had, whose name is Robert. Thank you, Robert, for
Cheers.
patreon.com/Karnies as how you can support us and then join the Discord to chat a little bit about whatever you want to chat. And I'll take my deck pictures soon enough for both events and I'll post them there for sure. And yeah, this is definitely something I like to see. I like to do a lot. My
Yeah, I mean, the Eternal Weekend calls for the deck picture, to be fair. So we'll definitely have
Yeah.
them on the Discord, at least. Yeah.
For sure. Remember, Antvier, you have to take the deck pictures when there's natural sun.
Well, you have to remember
So-
me to do that. That's
Tomorrow,
yeah.
for example.
Okay.
Morning, evening, morning, like after lunch, you
All
make
right.
the deck and then you take a picture.
I will
Don't
do
do it at night because then it's like non-natural night, bad glare, bad picture.
MTG Cosmetics.
be all-
Now we know.
Yeah,
the
they need
secrets
to
of
be
the
all
picture.
very Yeah, they need to be all very visible, and you need to have natural light.
Okay, now we know how to take the pictures. I think it's time to go.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Thank you so much for listening.
Thanks for
and,
listening.
Have a great day.
Cheers.